Hello everyone. On July 28th, an ISIL member was arrested with 3 AK-47 in Turkey. The operation was extended and 14 others were detained afterwards. But surprisingly, they were all released the next day, unlike thousands of detained teachers, journalists, civil servants and judges. Well, if they were found with, let's say, one of these books instead of the AK-47s, the ISIL members would have still been in prison. So how does Turkish government decides who is a terrorist? There are some criteria that has been declared by the Prime Minister earlier. I'm going to go through them. 1. Investing money in Bankasya. Bankasya was one of the Turkey's greatest investment bank with thousands of customers. It was established by Gulen-inspired people. Now, having any relationship with this bank is enough to be framed as a coup plotter. 2. Being a member of any Gulen-affiliated associations. After years of calling for transparency, now being a member of a legal business association is a crime according to Turkish government. Millions of people can be arrested with this criteria alone. 3. The alleged use of encrypted messaging applications such as Bylock. It was on Google Play and was downloaded by more than 500,000 people. It was shut down in 2015, long before the coup attempt in Turkey, so it can't have anything to do with it. 4. Making a donation to Kimse Yok Mu, which is a relief charity whose work has been acknowledged by the United Nations. For instance, remember this couple? They fed Syrian refugees on their wedding day via their charity, and now they are assumed as terrorists for that particular action. 5. Being profiled as Gülenist by the police or intelligence units. Although profiling citizens and their affiliation is a constitutional crime, just an affiliation is enough to be criminalized. 6. Sharing or retweeting to Gülen-related accounts on social media. We're not talking about supporting coup attempt, terrorism or violence, but according to these criteria, sharing any Gülen-related social media account can be tagged as terrorism. 7. Attending the lectures and meetings by this group. Topic or content is not important, it's irrelevant. Socializing with a group of people who haven't been convicted of any crime is a crime. So what is next? Force them to wear a star on their shoulder so that they can be identified and isolated? Is that where we are heading towards? 8. Being promoted quickly or being assigned to prominent offices suddenly. I would say Berat Albayrak, Erdogan's son-in-law, is a Gülen school graduate and he became a minister very quickly, but he wasn't arrested. So this criteria doesn't apply to all. 9. Supporting Hizmet movement projects financially. This can be providing a scholarship for a student or helping to establish a secular school in Africa. Again, it's a crime according to Turkish government. 10. Being subject to reliable testimonies and confession. When they say reliable confession, I always remember this picture. This is how you get reliable confession nowadays. 11. Having links or relationship with detained people. This may even go as far as providing legal representation. There has been incidents where lawyers have been arrested just because they were defending their clients. 12. If your colleagues at work says you are a Gülenist, then you are done for. Remember the guy from the finance department whom you hate, or your boss? You can get rid of them like this, and this sort of incident happens every day. Finally, of course, if you subscribe to any magazine, journal or newspaper affiliated with Gülen, and there are so many of them, or if you send your children to a Gülen-inspired school, you can be arrested. These are the criteria. With these criteria, government can arrest just about anyone in Turkey, and that is what happens. The number of arrests are so huge that the government decided to release 93,000 convicted criminals, thieves, murderers, to create space for teachers, doctors and lawyers who have been arrested with the criteria I mentioned. This wasn't enough, so government now declared they will be building 175 new prisons to accommodate these purged people. I want to highlight 4 points here. 1. None of these criteria are about terrorism or coup plotting. They are about affiliation to Gülen. That is what government is punishing people who has nothing to do with violence in any way. 2. These criteria are aiming to criminalize innocent people rather than dealing with the real terrorists such as ISIL or Al-Qaeda. 3. This is used as a tool to silence any opposition and consolidate authoritarianism in Turkey. 4. These purges are not a temporary phase, but rather it seems to be the initial steps of a greater injustice and oppression in Turkey. Please join me in the discussion and tell me what you think about this. Thank you very much for listening.